Welcome into Pigskin with Pancakes. I'm the host, Paige DeMacco's here with Chris Schubert, and he's got a little bit more room on the couch today. There's
I like it.
We're sans Jamie Eisner
He's on
this
assignment.
morning. He is
He's on assignment.
He's not feeling well.
He's on assignment.
He's on assignment.
No, don't give it away to the people. He's on assignment.
He's on
just busy.
assignment, sure. Yeah, he's on
busy.
assignment.
He's doing a lot of Pigskin with Pancakes work, just on assignment. I don't know.
All right, well, we're going to get through all of these matchups today. We're going to talk about everything you need to know for fantasy football. And if you want to submit questions, you can find me at _sports page on Twitter. We already have about 20 questions that we're going to try and get through.
So we can help people lose this week.
No, we're going to help people win.
Okay, all right.
That's what we do. We're going to help people win. Chris might help you lose, so pay attention to what I'm saying. But let's talk first game. Falcons, Jets. There's a game that's going on right now. Obviously, you would have already had to have started those guys, so we're not going to get into that game.
We can't tell you how to play any of those guys.
Yeah.
They're already playing.
I can't help you with the Cleveland Browns, and I can't help you with the Minnesota Vikings, but I can help you with the Falcons and the Jets, and that's where we're going to start.
Okay,
Chris.
I mean,
Go
this
ahead.
is a very fun game because
Sure
the Falcons last week struggled against the New England Patriots, a team that they should have been able to put up a lot of offensive numbers against, and they couldn't. I don't know if it was the fog that was getting in their way or whatever.
Maybe.
It could have been. So now they get a Jets team this week that has been really good. So do you want to start from the Falcons' perspective or the Jets' perspective?
Let's start from the Falcons because the Falcons thus far over the last couple of weeks especially have been kind of a disappointment, Chris. So let's start with Matt Ryan right off the top.
Well, look, he hasn't thrown for multiple touchdowns in a game this season. And if you are looking at a QB1, you need a guy that's going to get you 2 touchdowns every so often. You need that.
At least.
But, and there's going to be a lot of buts here in this little section because the Jets have allowed 2 passing touchdowns in each of their last 3 games.
Yep.
So there is a defense that is giving up those multi-touchdown games. Maybe this is where Matt Ryan can break out and have that multi-touchdown game that he hasn't had this season.
I don't love this matchup for him specifically.
I don't because it's a road game. It's in New York. And
the Jets are not a bad defense.
The Jets have not been awful this year.
Yeah, no, I'm not in love with Matt Ryan. I think the thing with him is there's a point at which you look at offensively, you look at this whole team and you go, okay, they're going to break out, they're going to be the same team. But now we've watched them for 7 weeks and they haven't had that week yet.
No.
So at some point, maybe you start buying into the fact that they're not the team they were last year. Matt Ryan's not going to put up those MVP caliber type numbers that he put up last year, but he's still a QB1.
Absolutely. And another guy that and this is because he's on my fantasy team, Devonta Freeman, only 21 carries in his last 2 games. That's not good, but, there's that but again, the Jets are allowing 4.4 yards per carry this season. So if he does get touches, there's a good chance he's picking up 4 or 5 yards at a clip, and you'll take that out of your running back spot.
I'm assuming that Atlanta realizes that. They see that they haven't been giving him enough touches, and that's a recipe for them to lose football games.
Yep.
I think that there is no way that this team is successful with Devonta Freeman having that few carries. Just doesn't make a lot of sense when in the past few years when they have been successful, he's been getting a lot of touches. So I do think this is a good game for him. I do see a bounce back.
Yes.
And if you have Devonta Freeman and where you drafted him, you kind of have to start him.
So a little bit behind the scenes here for everybody involved. You brought in a lot of snacks today.
I did.
There's a lot of treats that we're going to be able to enjoy after.
It's Halloween weekend.
Now, I
people.
also think you may be doing this because Julio Jones finally caught a touchdown pass.
I did.
So it's also a Julio Jones touchdown
It was
party.
a celebration of Julio Jones finally getting in the end zone.
It was garbage time, but he did get in the end zone. He did score that
garbage
touchdown.
time counts, baby.
The Jets have allowed 3 touchdowns to wide receivers last week. There means there's opportunity here for Julio Jones. Now, but the Jets, however, have only allowed 74 receptions to wide receivers this year.
Yeah.
So they did allow the touchdowns, but there's not a whole lot of opportunities. The Jets defense has been very good. So I have to do this for Jamie. This is on Jamie's behalf. His hate of the week.
Haterade.
Now again,
here it is.
Again, this is not me. This is Jamie. I'm reading his notes. These are his notes.
So you have to send all hate tweets to at JME Eisner.
Mohamed Sanu is the hate of the week. So he needs volume in order to succeed. And according to Jamie's notes here, again, these are Jamie's notes. The Jets are allowing around 10 catches per game to wide receivers in total.
Yeah, Mohamed Sanu is the hate of the week.
I mean, look.
Yeah.
I did not pick this. This is Jamie. Again, at JME Eisner on Twitter. You want to direct your hate, you direct it towards him. Because he has picked Mohamed Sanu as hater of the week.
See, but I think there's some facts behind what Jamie's saying here. Okay, you gotta understand. Jamie's coming from a place of he's looking at the numbers, he sees the trend, he doesn't like it, and Mohamed Sanu's been a guy who's been injured almost all season long as well. On top of all that,
and add to this, look, you know Julio Jones is going to get catches, and if the Jets are only allowing around 10 catches a game, Julio Jones is bound to get, 5 or 6 of them? There's not a whole lot of other targets to go around in this offense, and that's why Mohamed Sanu, who needs volume in order to succeed, is kind of one of those flex options.
In a PPR league, I'm not loving Mohamed Sanu, so I'm with Jamie in the sipping the haterade. Is there anybody from the Jets you like in this matchup? A guy that I would look at in a daily fantasy is a guy like Josh McCown. I know that it sounds kind of backwards, and I can't believe.
You. That's not a good matchup for Josh McCown.
Okay, tell us why.
Atlanta is only allowing 233 passing yards per game this season. You need him to eclipse that 300-yard threshold because I don't know if Josh McCown's going to go off for 3 touchdowns. So your way of maximizing points is for him to have a huge game in terms of yardage. And Atlanta, their secondary has been pretty good this season. They haven't allowed those big games. So that's something that I want to keep an eye on today is, look, there are going to be people out there who need a Josh McCown in a pinch to start this week. I don't think it's awful, but I don't think you can expect a 20-point performance from him. It's going to be more in I think the 15 to 17 range. And if you're okay with that, then yeah.
I think the thing with that is that I'm saying in daily fantasy sports league, if you want to go out and get somebody who's kind of cheap and you want to spend a little bit more money on a Le'Veon Bell or an Antonio Brown or somebody who's more of a sure thing, I think it's a good opportunity to play Josh McCown.
The running backs for New York, I think, are in a trouble spot this week. Atlanta has not allowed a rushing touchdown in their last 19 quarters, and Matt Forte and Bilal Powell basically split snaps last week, 28 for Forte,
it's a whole lot of blah.
21 for Powell, so I stay away from both of those guys.
Austin Seferian-Jenkins. Do we like him?
Oh, he caught it.
He's my boy.
After I talked him down last week and not thinking it was a good matchup for him, he went out and caught a touchdown in his 3rd straight contest, which is just, my luck. But the Falcons only allow a 41% success rate on throws to the tight end, and they also have yet to allow a touchdown to the tight end this season. So I said it last week, I'll say it again. I think you stay away from Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
Especially because he's touchdown dependent. Yes. All right, Raiders-Bills. Next matchup. The Raiders going on the road to play the Buffalo Bills.
Talk about a headache.
This is a headache, and this is a headache specifically because any of those West Coast teams that go east, it's always rough. It doesn't matter, especially in these early matchups where they're playing at 10 a.m. their body clock time. It's never good, and it never really works out for the West Coast. So I am staying away. I think I'm staying away from almost everybody on the Oakland Raiders.
And the tough part about it is you look at Derek Carr and you see a Bills defense that's allowed 2 straight 300-yard passers, and you're thinking, man, Derek Carr had a really good game last week. He had 2 touchdowns, 260 yards.
A lot of garbage time, a lot of junk on that last play.
So last time he played the Bills, back in Week 13 of last season, 260 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's got a track record against this Bills team of having success, and then you look at what he did in his previous game against the Kansas City Chiefs, played pretty well.
Let's talk about the question you posed right before this started, though. You have Matthew Stafford, and you have Derek Carr.
I do. It's a tough decision. It's a tough life that I live with these types of choices.
I always go with the home team.
Okay.
I always go with the home team.
Yeah.
Because I think that when a quarterback is on the road, especially for Derek Carr, when he's going on the road in an early morning against a pretty good defense in the Buffalo Bills, this isn't a matchup I like for Derek Carr.
Is this where I say West Coast team coming east to play the early game? I
never
like it. The Raiders, a West Coast team coming east to play the early game. And I do not like these matchups because it sometimes takes these teams a while. I'm not saying the Raiders are going to lose this game. Bills are a very good team. They very well might win this game.
Yeah.
But it may take them a while to get into gear, and that's fantasy points that you can't afford to miss. So, yeah, I'm starting Stafford this week. I'm not playing Derek Carr. I'm sitting him down.
How about Michael Crabtree, Amari Cooper? Amari Cooper, after everybody in fantasy football, not just us, everybody was dogging on Amari Cooper.
We did talk him down last week.
Because he wasn't catching the football.
He did have 3 drops in that game, by the way. He had a great game.
He did have 3, but he had a huge game.
Yes.
I feel like this is the week where he gets like 1 or 2 fantasy points.
Okay. Well, last season against Buffalo, he had 2 catches for 59 yards and a touchdown.
Okay.
That's what he had last year.
But now, you take away the touchdown.
It's nothing. But the touchdown means a whole lot. Michael Crabtree has had 2 career games against the Buffalo Bills. 13 catches, 187 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I'm starting Crabtree over
You're always
Cooper.
starting Crabtree, at least at this point in the season, because Cooper's dropping too many passes. I love Jared Cook this week. I went and picked him up. He was available in my league. I picked him up.
I like Cook the rest of the season. I think he's a good tight end to have.
He's the 8th ranked tight end. He was available on the free agent market. I just picked him up. I didn't have to drop anybody.
That's a good one to have.
The Bills have allowed the 3rd most receptions to tight ends this season.
Okay. So you like that matchup for Jared Cook. All right, let's talk about the Buffalo Bills.
Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor.
191 yards and an interception against the Raiders in his last meeting. No touchdowns.
Not good. But that was a different Raiders team.
Yeah.
Raiders team.
I think it's a different Tyrod Taylor, too. I mean, I look
at
this Bills team, and I don't think they were as dependent on Tyrod Taylor in the past. LaShawn McCoy is doing such a good job running the football. They're not asking Tyrod Taylor to make so many throws in these games. I think it's a different Tyrod Taylor that we're seeing, and I think he has a little bit more success today. I think he gets in the end zone. When you have a quarterback that can run the ball, that always adds value.
Absolutely.
And when you have, 6 or 7 teams that are on a bye this week,
yeah, it's
you're going
rough.
to need a quarterback option.
I was going to say.
I think Tyrod Taylor is a sneaky good one.
This is another one of those daily fantasy sports guys that I think Tyrod Taylor is worthy of going out to maybe pick him up because you're going to buy low here, and you might opportunity for him to score a lot of points. Now, we got a graphic on Nick O'Leary. We got to talk about our boy Nick O'Leary.
Look, again, I don't make up the graphics. Jamie does. And he says Nick O'Leary has registered at least 50 yards in each of his 2 games since he took over for Charles Clay.
For my boy Charles Clay.
You know what? If Jamie says it, I believe it. So Nick O'Leary has played pretty well since taking over for Paige's boy Charles Clay.
Here's what I was waiting on, because I was a Charles Clay owner. I wanted to know, was Nick O'Leary going to be utilized
the same way,
or thrown to or targeted as many times as Charles Clay? And it kind of feels like he's going to be part of the offense as much as he has. So I picked up Nick O'Leary and I'm playing him.
Yeah, I mean he's a sneaky good option, and if he's going to get at least 50 yards, he's going to provide some value for you.
Where the tight end position is usually a whole lot
your
of
boy
garbage.
Deontay Thompson had a pretty good game.
He sure
Bears
did.
Bears get rid of him, goes over to
it's kind of what the Bears do. They get rid of people. They go off.
It's not
for
like
other
they needed
teams.
a wide receiver or anything.
Yeah,
they did. And Deontay Thompson was a guy that I talked about earlier in the season. Remember, for the Bears, I was like, Deontay Thompson, I like this guy a lot.
Yeah.
Then he goes out and he has a huge game.
Credit to Chris.
Well, it took 6 or 7 weeks, but he finally got there. Has a big game for a different team. 4 catches, 107 yards. Had a really big catch on that drive. Then he got hit for a penalty. It extended the drive a little bit. But he only played 20 snaps. So
I think he'll be more utilized in the offense.
Yeah, I think it's a case of him getting comfortable with everyone and them getting comfortable with him and then using him. But yeah, he's a guy that I like.
Yeah, I like the matchup for him against the Oakland Raiders defense that has been nothing short of pretty mediocre.
Zay
throughout
Jones
the season.
caught a pass last week. Look at that.
Wow, he's still in the Buffalo Bills.
He's still in the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, do not start him in any fantasy football leagues. All right, next matchup: Colts and Bengals.
Oh boy.
What do we want to talk about here first?
Do we want to talk about how Jacoby Brissett is no longer a good streaming option because he's playing a very good defense?
So here's the thing. We wanted to try and make Jacoby Brissett a thing.
We
I
did.
feel like everybody in fantasy football was really excited about it. Well, he was utilizing those run yards. Okay, he was getting you points with his legs. He was an average option. He was a good streaming option.
Yes.
Not anymore.
Well,
not anymore. Do not start Jacoby Brissett.
The Bengals have allowed just 7 passing touchdowns in 6 games this season.
Yeah, it's not good.
I mean, I think that's all you need to know.
This is not the matchup for you.
No, it is not the matchup for him. However, it is the matchup for everyone that's wearing a Cincinnati Bengals jersey.
Okay.
The Colts are awful.
Yeah, they're
bad. Their
bad
defense,
football team.
They give up a ton of points.
They are 32nd.
Ready for this?
Yeah.
The Colts the last 3 weeks, 989 passing yards in the last 3 games. That is an average with each of those quarterbacks, each eclipsing 300 yards.
Yeah, that's bad. That means good things if you're Andy Dalton owner. That means good things if you're a Joe Mixon owner.
Oh, you play him. They've allowed 2 rushing touchdowns in each of their last 2 games.
Yeah, this might be that week where Joe Mixon really has a good game.
Jamie, in his notes here, has Mixon in all caps. Is that all you need to know, guys?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all you need to know. This is
go.
Definitely a start of A.J. Green game, a Joe Mixon game.
I think
this
Tyler Kroft.
Yeah, this might even be a game where Tyler Eifert's backup in a tight end position, I think, has a really good game. It's a really good matchup for him. And the Colts defense really just hasn't been able to shut down anything at all.
A touchdown to a tight end in 4 of their last 5 games. They give up points. Yeah. Spoiler alert, there's going to be a lot of points for the Bengals today.
Yeah, there is going to be a lot of points for the Bengals today. Let's talk about the Colts, though, real quickly, because I know we have a T.Y. Hilton graphic here that we want to get to.
We do. Again, not my graphic, Jamie's graphic. I just want to make this clear so the hate can get directed his way when he's wrong. T.Y. Hilton has averaged 5.99 less points in PPR formats without Andrew Luck. Also, I'll decode this. Andrew Luck is really good, and if T.Y. Hilton doesn't have a good quarterback, he struggles.
Yeah, here's the thing about anybody who is on the Indianapolis Colts who you were thinking about starting. If you don't have Andrew Luck throwing you the ball, everything is dropped off. It doesn't matter, Frank Gore, T.Y. Hilton, Jack Doyle, the entirety of the Indianapolis Colts is not as effective, and they don't bring the same value without Andrew Luck. And that speaks truly to T.Y. Hilton, because T.Y. Hilton's a phenomenal wide receiver, but he's got to have Andrew Luck throwing him the ball.
He's a wide receiver 1 most weeks.
With Andrew Luck.
But with Jacoby Brissett, that's
6 less points. That's a touchdown, basically. That's a lot.
Potentially 6 catches that he's not getting.
Yeah.
With Andrew Luck being on the sidelines, right? In a PPR format, and with 1 point per reception, that's like 6 catches he's missing out.
You can't afford to not have those. All right, Chargers and Patriots. I know we got a question about whether or not the inclement weather was going to affect the Patriots. I don't know what the weather is like, but I'm going to check on that while you talk about Tom Brady.
First of all, New England plays in bad weather because that's their home stadium, so I'm not really concerned about that at all. Here's where I want to go with this. The Patriots, they're bad at defense. They're very bad at defense. They give up a lot of points. This is good news for Phillip Rivers. The Patriots have allowed a 300-yard passer in all but one of their games this season. I think you play him. I think Melvin Gordon is a start this week. I mean, you got all these receivers in this Chargers offense that I think you can consider. Paige, I can't delay any longer. Have you checked the weather?
61 degrees
and sunny.
No, lots of rain.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to tell me.
So that does impact everybody because you tend not to. You tend the ball. There's more turnovers usually when it's raining, especially when I'm forecasting 100% chance of precipitation means a lot of rain. Usually means you're not throwing the ball as much, and it usually means the running backs are more involved.
Look, I mean, for Melvin Gordon, I think this is a way to increase his value because they're going to run the ball a little bit more. They're passing maybe short passing options where they throw the ball more out of the backfield. New England is allowing a league-high 65% success rate on passes to the running back this season, and they're also allowing 8.3 receiving yards per attempt to the running back. So if Melvin Gordon, who can be used out of the backfield, they're going to use him a little bit more because it's a little bit rainy. Melvin Gordon owners might be happy this week.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon's a guy that you're starting every week. I know I got a couple of questions about Phillip Rivers as a streaming option.
Oh, you're playing him this week.
I do like Phillip Rivers this week, especially because he's playing the New England Patriots. Like Chris said earlier, the New England Patriots has not been good defensively at all, with the exception of one game against the Atlanta Falcons, and the Falcons have not been good against anybody. So I kind of take that game and I throw it out, and I look at this game, and a guy like Phillip Rivers who likes to throw the ball around, likes to have a lot of offense, and I think this is the best option for him. He hasn't played in any home games really because playing at the StubHub Center in LA doesn't feel like a home game.
Hey, so he's not going to. You be nice to Carson.
He's not going to be intimidated. He's not going to be intimidated by playing New England. Yeah, I will take all the shots at Carson.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, I will take all of them. Chris.
New England has allowed a 300-yard passer in all but one game this season. You have to
Atlanta.
Trends.
Yeah, you like that trend if you are a Phillip Rivers owner, a Melvin Gordon owner. You like that across the board for the Chargers. Now, from the Patriots side of the ball, I know that we got a question about James White, so let's go to that.
Yeah, the Chargers
James White or Ted Ginn Jr.?
Well, here's some good news for James White owners. The Chargers have allowed 24 receptions to running backs in their last 3 games. So he might be able to find some success this week. Look, start Tom Brady. I don't know if you need me to tell you this, but
I hope not.
The Chargers. The Chargers are only allowing 207 passing yards per game in 2017, so their defense has been pretty good. But the guys I'm looking towards are Ingram and Bosa. Can they get after Tom Brady? Can they do enough to get after the quarterback? Because if they do, that's going to impact Tom Brady. If the Patriots' offensive line can keep him upright, then I think he's in for a big day. Yeah,
one of the things we talked about in the podcast that I host with Jake Arians, he said from watching film, from watching these games, this Chargers defense can get to the quarterback. And Tom Brady does not like getting hit.
No,
okay, he's 40 years
old.
Elite
pass rushers.
Yeah, if they can get to him, if they can really hit him and make him hurt early on, that is bad things for the New England offense. I'm still starting, obviously, Tom Brady, and I'm starting James White this week. I think this is a good matchup for him.
Yeah, you're also going to play Gronkowski, but just know the Chargers are allowing the second fewest fantasy points per game to tight ends this season, so don't expect that monster game from Gronk, and if it happens, you're happy about it.
Yeah, for sure. You're always happy, but you're always starting Gronk. You can't not start Gronk.
Also, I just saw this on the Twitter machine.
Oh, on the Twitter machine.
I believe Stephon Gilmore is out for the Patriots today. I believe.
That impacts you.
So, yeah, there you go. Yeah, Stephon Gilmore officially inactive, and Danny Amendola is in for the Patriots.
Okay, but do not start Danny Amendola. I think
he's averaging just 5.7 targets over his last 3 games.
No thanks.
I'm not a big fan of
Chris Hogan?
He's recorded at least 60 yards in 5 of his last 6 games. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
You kind of like that.
Yeah, for sure.
I had a buddy ask me, he was offered Tariq Cohen and his choice of wide receivers, which included Will Fuller for Chris Hogan.
Oh, yeah, I remember this trade.
And I thought he should do it because Will Fuller is a touchdown-catching machine, and Tariq Cohen provides a lot of value. I actually think Tariq Cohen's in for a big game this week.
I agree.
Chris Hogan is valuable, but if you can get a trade like that, that's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, you definitely have to. All right. Let's get into Tariq Cohen.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Chicago Bears and the New Orleans Saints. The Bears going on the road to play in the Dome for New Orleans. The New Orleans Saints have been on the up and up. The Bears have been on the up and up. This is kind of 2 teams that I didn't forecast being in this position where they are now. Mm-hmm. But let's kick things off because I know we got a graphic here.
We do.
On this Bears defense.
Well, yeah, I created this one for you, Paige, because look, the Bears defense, they have 2 interceptions in each of their last 2 games. They're playing pretty well defensively. They're getting turnovers. So the Bears defense may be a sneaky play this week if you have them, because they may have a lot of success here against Drew Brees getting the ball and turning it over. And I think it's a tough matchup for Breeze. I mean, the Bears are only allowing 13 points in fantasy to quarterbacks.
Yep.
So you add that into with the turnovers, it's not a good recipe for success for Drew Brees. Look, you're obviously playing him, but I don't think that big game is on the horizon this week for Drew Brees. Now, I said that he's going to go off for like 450 yards.
Well, he has the ability. I mean,
Yes.
if you have Drew Brees, you're starting Drew Brees, especially when he's at home. He is a better quarterback when he's at home, much like Roethlisberger. It's an incremental, it's a big difference, his home numbers versus his road numbers. But the Bears' defense is no joke. They're healthier than they have been in a while. They have been creating turnovers. They found a guy in Eddie Jackson who has been a complete stud. So I think when you look at that defense, it's a streaming option. I think a lot of times people didn't even have the Chicago Bears. Last week I looked and it was about 56% owned. So that means a lot of people saw that it's now at about 85 because they're reacting to last weekend's game where they're scoring you a lot of points. But let's talk about the rest of Chicago. Mitch Trubisky, love you, not starting you in fantasy football. Do not tweet me about it, Chicago Bears fans. I am from Chicago and I get it, but you're not starting Mitch Trubisky.
I'm going to pull up my phone here for a second because I'm going to go over to the camera, which is we're not planned for this, but I'm going to show everybody. Well, I'm going to live show everybody one of my fantasy teams this week. Do you want to know why? Come start Mitchell Trubisky in one of the fantasy teams.
My
So I'm going to pull it up
Chris.
here. I think it's in this league. I think it's in the league that we are in together. It is. So I'm going to go up to everybody.
Oh, show everybody, Chris.
And there you go.
Make sure everyone on the show sees.
Look at it. Look at him. He's right there. There he is. He's right there. Mitchell Trubisky. Look at him. You can see.
Nobody can see.
It's all blurry. Mitchell Trubisky. He's on. He's on the team.
Nobody can see that, Chris.
Can you vouch for me, Mitchell Trubisky's on the team?
Okay, I can confirm that in the starting position, across from Kirk Cousins,
We're starting Mitchell Trubisky.
He's starting Mitchell Trubisky. Now, Trubisky is set for, I think he's about 10 points.
It's actually 13 he's projected to get
See,
this week.
and that's not so bad. If you have Mitch Trubisky, but do not do what Chris does unless you're in dire needs. Like I know some people had Aaron Rodgers and Carson Palmer, and you might be forced to start a guy like Mitch Trubisky because you had two quarterbacks and they both got injured. But I think from the Bears side of the football, it starts and ends with Jordan Howard. This is a guy every single week you're starting. He's breaking out. He's becoming more involved in the offense. Ever since they made the switch to Trubisky, you're feeling better about him overall. How about a guy like Tariq Cohen, though? Because I know you talked about it earlier.
So here, I got a couple of nuggets here for you. Back to Mitchell Trubisky just for a second because I want to talk about the Saints defense because it ties into my Tariq Cohen conversation. When the Saints have allowed one touchdown this season in passing, they've allowed 3. So you either score 3 touchdowns in passing against the Saints or you score no touchdowns.
Let's score 3, Chicago.
Okay?
Let's do this.
That means Trubisky, if he's going to get in the end zone, he may get into it a couple of times.
And what if he gets a rushing touchdown?
Well, there you go. There's only been 2 rushing touchdowns allowed to running backs this season against the Saints defense. And only twice have they allowed a 100-yard rusher. So you don't like that from the Tariq Cohen, Jordan Howard standpoint. But where I do like it is them catching the ball out of the backfield.
Which they both can do.
Because I think there's some opportunity there because Trubisky, prediction he throws it more than 7 times today.
He's going to have to if they want to win a football game.
They're going to get those guys involved a little bit more often. So I think their pass catching ability in a PPR league goes up. They may not get the touches on the ground, but they may get the touches through the air. I think that's where their value is really high this week. I like both of them.
Offensive line health. The Chicago Bears, their starting right guard playing again, Kyle Long, feeling good, feeling back to normal health. That's good news if you're an owner of either Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard. And I think, Chris, you're spot on. The word out of camp is that Trubisky is throwing the ball a lot more. The game plan this week is to attack the New Orleans Saints because of that defense. They're not doing the game plan they had last week against the Carolina Panthers. This is a much different game plan against a much different defense. Now, from the Saints' perspective, who do you like here the most?
Probably everybody. I mean, look, Alvin Kamara has got 39 targets on the season, 7 in last week's game. He continues to be a PPR player. He continues to be a huge threat for them out of the backfield. I still think Mark Ingram can have a ton of success on the ground running the football. They are so good at using their running backs in different ways and getting them both involved. I have no concern about playing Alvin Kamara and then Mark Ingram having the big game because they both find ways to get involved. Love Michael Thomas. Is this where I go on my Ted Ginn Jr. rant again because he had a huge game last week. I think he has another big game. Willie Sneen's active, though, so we'll see how they integrate him back into this offense, what he's able to do right away. But I like everybody, except Coby Fleener. Don't play tight end. There's a lot of better tight end options out there. Jared Cook, Tyler Kroft. Don't play Coby Fleener. Don't do it.
All right.
Don't
play Coby Fleener.
Don't play Coby Fleener. Don't.
That's all you got on that?
That's all I got on the tight end situation.
That's all you got on the tight end situation. I like Zach Miller this week. Back to the Bears.
Yeah.
I think it's not a great option, but in a tight end group, at least Zach Miller gets targets. They do, I think, in this offense, where rookie quarterbacks tend to go to their tight ends. I think this is going to be that trend that you see. This isn't only a Bears trend. This is an NFL trend. So I think you go to Zach Miller here. He's a good streaming
7
option.
passing attempts for Trubisky last week. 3 of those 7 went.
So he got about half the targets.
So there you go.
Yeah, that's something. That's your trend.
There's
there,
your trend. There
okay,
you go.
let's talk about the 49ers and the Eagles.
I got a bit of a recipe here for you, okay?
Okay, give me the recipe.
What happens when you have a defense that gives up the 2nd most points to quarterbacks, the most points to running backs, and the 11th most points to wide receivers? What happens when you mix all that together?
What happens?
You get a lot of points fantasy-wise for the Philadelphia Eagles because the 49ers are bad. The 2nd most points to quarterbacks, the most points to running backs, and the 11th most points to wide receivers. I don't think I need to tell anybody here to play Carson Wentz.
No,
I think Carson Wentz should be playing.
If you are not starting Carson Wentz after that, we shouldn't have to tell you to start that. And I know I got a couple of questions here about Nelson Aguilar.
Do you
Fuller,
listen to the show?
but this is a good one. Okay, because we both like Will Fuller.
Okay.
So Will Fuller, Nelson Aguilar, and Juju Smith-Schuster.
Okay, I'm playing Juju Smith-Schuster.
Who do we like the most?
Am I only allowed to pick one?
Yeah, only
then
allowed
it's
to pick
Nelson
one.
Aguilar because I don't like Will Fuller going up. He's very touchdown dependent. He's going up against Seattle. I don't love it.
Yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster on the road in Detroit. That's a good defense. Maybe tough to get that offensive going because of how Ben Roethlisberger struggles on the road. I mean, what's there not to like about Nelson Aguilar? A home game against the 49ers who give up a ton of points. I'm playing him. He's not a flex anymore. He is a guy that is going to be in your starting wide receiver group. I've moved him out of the flex. He's my wide receiver 2 every week. He's in there. He's cemented that.
Chris, I gotta interrupt you here.
Boy. What
Remember
happened?
how we talked about fire emojis, fire cleats? We got some fire outfits happening for Jordan Howard today. I'm starting him above everybody
500
else.
fantasy points?
Yeah. I got 17 fire emojis firing behind the outfits that are happening. They're doing Halloween theme. I see Kyle Long and one of the are dressed up like Dumb and Dumber. They got some phenomenal outfits happening.
So a lot of fantasy points.
Lots of fantasy points happen. I had to interrupt you because this is phenomenal.
No, that is very fair. I want to talk about the running back situation in Philadelphia for a second because I just mentioned that they have
because it's interesting.
Well, it's interesting for a ton of reasons because they give up the 49ers do the most points to fantasy running backs. But look, it's LeGarrette Blount. He's only got 1 touchdown on the season. I mean, the 49ers have been torched. Todd Gurley, 113 yards, 2 touchdowns. Zeke, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Those are established backs who've had huge games in the past this year. LeGarrette Blount, he hasn't had that. And with Wentz playing as well as he is, do they need to run the ball as much? I don't think so.
And they haven't been running the ball. And I don't think this game against the 49ers is going to be the game where they're going to be in a close chess match and they're going to have to run the football. I think this is the game. Their recipe for success has been Carson Wentz getting points on with his feet and throwing the ball. And I just don't think that that's going to change when you've seen as many games now as we have, and they've been a very good football team.
So, I'm staying away from LeGarrette Blount despite the 49ers giving up the most points to their running backs in terms of fantasy.
Okay.
I'm staying away from it because there's something that tells me LeGarrette Blount's not going to have a good game this week.
He's probably a running back, too, or a flex spot. If you feel good about, he's definitely, I don't think LeGarrette Blount throughout this entire season has not been an RB1, but if you start him in an RB2 spot, the thing is he has the upside because this is a good matchup for him. So if you start him there, you can end up with a touchdown or a 100-yard game because of this matchup, and then you're sitting very pretty if you're starting a guy like him and then a Jordan Howard, let's say.
Can we talk about my favorite tight end in the league, Zach Ertz? Big fan of his? No?
Chris?
I'm a big fan of Zach Ertz.
Tell the people the truth.
I was very down on Zach Ertz, and now I'm a big fan of Zach Ertz.
Look right at the camera and tell the people the truth.
Zach Ertz, I was not a fan of yours. Now I am a fan of yours.
And why is that?
Because I was wrong. Paige was right. I apologize. Okay.
Okay. Now
back to the real point here. This may actually not be a great matchup for Zach Ertz. The tight end is the.
Now you're trying to tell me
it's
you're
not
against Zach Ertz.
It's not Zach Ertz. It's the 49ers. This is the one area of their defense that they actually do a pretty good job of stopping tight ends from being able to score. I'm pretty sure. Let me check my notes here real quick. Jason Witten, I think, is the only tight end to have caught a touchdown pass against the 49ers, and that only happened last week. And they haven't allowed a whole lot of yards. 65 is the most yardage they've allowed. You're playing Zach Ertz. Trust me, you're playing Zach Ertz, but don't expect that big game from him.
I love how you're trying to convince me that I shouldn't be starting Zach Ertz.
No.
After
I did not say that.
All these weeks
no.
of
You're
Zach
putting words in my
Ertz
mouth.
giving you everything he's got and scoring you touchdowns and giving you points and being
Paige,
number one
read
tight
my
end.
notes. Read my notes. It says, so Ertz is a top tight end, so you are still playing him, but you can't count on a monster day from him. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Don't count on it. If it happens, throw a party, okay? Get some snacks out and enjoy a party.
Can you do this again?
Throw a party, okay? But I don't expect him to do that.
All right.
That's all.
That's all.
That is it.
I think we have a graphic here on somebody that you love.
It's the only player that I like here.
You really love him.
He's not the crush. I
you
like
love
him a lot, but he's
like
not
him
the
a
crush
lot.
of the week. It is Pierre Garçon. He's the only wide receiver on this San Francisco team I'm willing to even put in my lineup right now. 63 targets on the season. That is good for 7th in the NFL. And in a PPR league, you love a guy that's in the top 10 of targets every week. It means he's got an opportunity to catch the ball. There's a lot of points to go around. But then I circle back to this problem that the 49ers have. And it's the guy throwing the ball to Pierre Garçon.
Yeah, C.J. Beathard.
Yeah, he's bad.
Yeah, he's not good.
Now, the Eagles aren't that far behind the 49ers in terms of giving up points. They give up the 9th most fantasy points to quarterbacks on a weekly basis.
Which is surprising because they're such a good football
But then
team.
again, it's C.J. Beathard, or Beathard, or however he wants his name pronounced. It's like Trubisky with the Mitch and the Mitchell, whatever.
Yeah, no, sorry. C.J. Beathard, don't care how your name... You haven't earned that right where we all have to be paying super close attention to how we say your name.
That worries me a lot about Pierre Garçon.
I think,
but
when you're looking at the 49ers, I mean, he's probably the only option that you like.
I'm gonna do it again, Paige. I'm gonna force George Kittle to be a thing. I'm gonna continue to do it. The Eagles.
I think you just like his name.
Look, they haven't been great against the tight end. Okay, the Jordan Reed had 2 touchdowns last week. Travis Kelce had a huge game earlier in the year against the Eagles. What do those two guys have in common? They're very good tight ends.
Yeah.
I don't know if George Kittle's a very good tight end.
No, he's not.
But he may be able to find some success this week. So I'm a little bit more excited about him.
Are you putting him on notice? Are you giving him one of these?
George Kittle, you're on notice, buddy. You are on notice this week. If you do not play well, I'm going to have to bash you next week, and I don't want to do that. I don't like this matchup for Carlos Hyde or Matt Breida either.
Yeah.
I think they struggle. The Eagles have not allowed a rushing touchdown in the last 3 games, and since week 3, they've only allowed 1 rushing touchdown.
Okay.
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
Do not like it.
Anything else you want to hit in this matchup before we get into the Panthers and the Bucs?
No, I think I got everybody. Play Alshon Jeffrey, play Nelson Aguilar, play them all.
Since we are going to get into this matchup, Panthers, Buccaneers, this is a divisional game. Before we get into your crush of the week, we got a question. Somebody has Cam Newton, and they also have Jameis Winston.
This is an easy decision.
Who are you starting?
You're playing Cam Newton.
100%.
Jameis Winston re-injured himself in that game last week.
Jameis Winston has also not been very good.
He has not been very good. Now, I know the Bills, he was able to have some success against the Bills last week, but he hasn't thrown all week. We haven't seen him in practice at all, and it's because he re-injured his throwing shoulder. And before holding Trubisky to only 7 attempts, because I take that game out as an outlier for the Panthers have allowed 10 touchdowns and 1 interception this year. So you would be okay starting Jameis Winston, but I really, really like Cam Newton this week. I just think he's going to be able to have a big game. Quarterbacks have scored 1 touchdown in each game against the Bucs this season. They've allowed the 3rd most points. I mean, I just think Newton's going to be able to find so much success here in this game. I love Newton more than I love Winston. Yeah,
and I think overall with this matchup, you see Cam Newton and you see the trend that Cam Newton doesn't have back-to-back poor games. He had a poor game last week against Chicago. I think he has a bounce-back week here against the Tampa Bay. Now, let's also talk about here Christian McCaffrey, because this is your crush of the week. So let's get to this graphic and let's let Chris make some. He's doing finger pointers. He's got hearts coming out of his ears. He's super excited about this crush.
The crush of the week is my opportunity to gloat about somebody and maybe go outside of the facts.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
I'm staying inside the facts this week, people.
Oh,
okay?
wow.
Christian McCaffrey, look at it. He leads all running backs with 59 targets, an average of 8.4 game. I didn't make those numbers up. I looked them up.
You sure?
They're real. They're real numbers.
Let's
add to this. There's a volume play here with him, okay? He's going to get a lot of targets out of the backfield. Even if he doesn't run the ball, even if he can't run the ball, he's going to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield. Then add to this, LaShawn McCoy had success running the ball out of the backfield. Tariq Cohen was able to do it back in week 2 against this team. Dalvin Cook in week 3. James White in week 5. There is a track record of pass-catching backs able to have success against this Bucs defense. Christian McCaffrey has a monster game this week. I'm just going to
sit back and let Chris have his moment with Christian McCaffrey.
And I am playing him this week because
He's having a moment.
He is going to play and have a massive game this week. He's the crush of the week.
So, now's the time where I hit my boy up on freezing cold takes. And I tell him, Chris R. Schubert, Christian McCaffrey does not have a good game. I'm going to cut this clip out. I'm going to send it right on over to my boy Fred.
Honestly, that would probably help me get more Twitter followers if I have a Colts take that was exposed. So that would
everybody follow Chris R. Schubert on Twitter.
I'm actually a little bitter that I don't have as many Twitter followers as Paige.
Let's not get into that conversation. I don't want to own you on TV. In front of
what else
else.
want to talk about in this matchup?
Okay. Who else do we like here?
Well,
Let's keep on the Panthers because.
You want to stay on the Panthers?
Yeah, let's stay on the Panthers. Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Stewart. What's his value here?
He's okay. He's there. He runs the ball.
He's an RB2. He's a flex spot. You feel pretty good about it.
I don't mean to diminish Jonathan Stewart. It's just he's vanilla ice cream. He's vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
He's just vanilla ice cream. He's just there.
He's there.
Devin Funchess is the number one wide receiver in this offense. I mean, he got more targets last week than Kelvin Benjamin. He's got more targets on average.
He seems to kind of be building a little chemistry with him and Cam.
And you got to like that. So Devin Funchess I love. I think Ed Dixon, we were talking about they're trying to make not George Kittle a thing. I think Ed Dixon's a sneaky tight end option this week. 5 targets last week, 18 in his last 3 games.
You like when your tight end is being thrown to.
Yeah.
That's the trend you have to look for because guys that are not involved in the offense, like a Martellus Bennett, that's a guy I think of who people tried to make a thing and just has not been a thing, and he is retiring at the end of the season, I know. That came out. But it's you can't, when you're trying to decide whether or not you're going to start a tight end, because you either have Gronkowski, Travis Kelce, these kind of Jordan Reed, there's like 3 or 4 guys you're starting every week, and then it's just a dumpster fire. You're just trying to pick and choose who you're starting week in and week out. And this is one of those guys where you're feeling comfortable.
And I think Ed Dixon's one of those sneaky good options this week.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Bucs.
Okay.
Because the Bucs have been a disappointment as in an offense in totality. Jameis Winston has been a disappointment thus far. Doug Martin has been kind of up and down. He came back off of his suspension. So what do you like here from Tampa Bay?
I like Mike Evans.
Okay. Well, we love Mike Evans.
I like Deshaun Jackson. And I'm putting O.J. Howard on notice here, okay? I know
this is your boy.
He's coming off a big game. And if there's anyone in this room that would try to make him a thing, it would be me.
Oh, you have been trying to make him a thing for a long time.
I think I'm done with it. I think I'm done making O.J. Howard a thing. And I know this is really bad.
I got to start taking notes of when you're saying these things so that I can clip them out and then put them up against you.
He's coming off of a really good game against the Bills. But we talked about this on our show during the week, the keepers. The numbers don't help O.J. Howard here.
No,
the targets are not in his favor. The snap counts are not in his favor. And they only run 2 tight end sets around 20% of the time. And I just don't like that number. I wish they were out there more. And until he becomes the feature tight end, he's not going to be the guy they go to in those 1 tight end sets. So until O.J. Howard can show me more and has back-to-back big games, I'm putting him on notice.
How about Cameron Brate?
Yeah, I mean, Brate's the guy in this offense, right? I mean, he's the guy that's getting a lot of the major touches here.
He's out-snapping him.
Yeah, and I like him a lot. I really do. I think he's a legitimate option. Adam Humphries is a nice, sneaky option. Maybe he's a high-upside flex guy because he's emerged as a nice third option. I worry about his production, though, because they have those 2 tight ends.
Daily fantasy, though. That's where you pick up a guy like that, and he's cheap.
If you were thinking about playing Jamison daily this week, I wonder if a cheaper Adam Humphries may be a good guy to pair him with.
Okay.
So maybe, perhaps.
Usually, I pick one really cheap guy that you play in a daily fantasy, and then you go spend all your money on getting Antonio Brown. Just the sure things.
Yeah,
that's what you
and I think Adam Humphries, you want to, you know what? I'll put it out there.
Put it out there.
The stack of the day from me.
Oh, wow!
The last time I did this,
it
was 7,000 fire emojis. So we're gonna try to go 2 for 2. I know I just talked down Jameis Winston.
Okay.
Jameis Winston and Adam Humphries.
This is your stack of the day. Let the people know.
Stack of the day. Jameis Winston, Adam Humphries.
And how can they follow you when it inevitably
at Chris O. Schubert, when it doesn't work out, you can tweet at me and go ahead and let me know how bad it ended up being.
It worked out last time. It was fire.
Which is why I probably shouldn't risk it. They have another one, but I have another one. I just thought of it in the moment. We'll do it.
I love it. All right, let's get into these afternoon games.
Okay.
Okay, but before we do that, let's do a couple questions.
You have questions.
And
so we're not doing the afternoon games.
No, I'm teasing. I'm giving you
Okay.
guys a tease. We're going to get into the Texans and the Seahawks. There's 2 afternoon games this week. We'll get into those, but let's get to some questions first. So I'm going to go to the Twitter machine.
Okay.
All right.
What does the Twitter machine have for us
The Twitter
today?
machine has a lot.
Okay.
We have, this one comes from Kyle Jonas on Twitter.
Is he related to Nick
and Joe Jonas? I don't think so. I don't think they're related, but that would be cool. And hit us up on Twitter if you are.
I know
Kyle
there's 3
Jonas.
of them. Yes, our producer's yelling at me that there's 3 Jonas brothers. I can't remember the third one's name, okay?
Deshaun Watson or Cam Newton this week.
Cam Newton. I know rookie quarterback, you got to love what Deshaun Watson's able to do, but he's going on the road to Seattle. I like Cam Newton a lot more.
You do?
Yeah, Cam Newton.
Even though Deshaun's been the man.
Yes, and he can probably...
I'm with you. I just want to be completely convinced not to start Deshaun Watson.
It was my responsibility to research the Texans game this week.
Yeah.
And all the numbers say don't play Deshaun Watson, but I want to do it anyway.
I'm doing it in my league because I'm doing it in the league where I had Rodgers and Deshaun Watson, and now I'm starting Deshaun Watson.
But in this situation, I think Cam Newton's a much safer play.
Much safer play, but I do think that
if you're in a bind, I think you can take a risk
game.
on Deshaun. He could have a really good game today.
All right, James White or Ted Ginn Jr. This one comes from Nick.
Man, I love Ted Ginn Jr. I love Ted Ginn Jr. Willie Snead is back, though. That concerns me a little bit. Ted Ginn didn't catch a touchdown last week, but he had 7 catches and over 100 yards. I think he's the number 2 guy in that offense, and I think as a flex guy, Ted Ginn Jr. is the guy.
All right, this one comes from Paulie on Twitter, and he wants to know in a flex position. No, not Polish.
Okay, all right.
This one comes from...
That's two really good pop culture references on my
All right,
part.
now that we're keeping track of your pop culture references. In a flex spot, PPR league, Matt Forte or Tariq Cohen? I know I'm starting Tariq
It's
Cohen.
not Matt Forte. They're splitting carries there in New York. I do not like the fact that Bilal Powell and them are really close. I'm playing Tariq Cohen. I think Cohen's in for a big game today.
Live on the show while this is happening, Freezing Cold Takes is liking my tweets where I'm responding to people, so it is inevitable that I'm going to get Freezing Cold Takes today.
Yeah,
it is inevitable.
Yeah,
yes.
Why
do my fantasy
But then
team...
you made it big when that happens.
Yeah.
That's when you make it big.
Yeah, Chris is trying. He's trying. All right. This I just love this question from Ray, and we don't really have an answer to this question.
There's no context to this question, but it's funny.
Why do my fantasy team suck?
Well,
I love that Ray tweeted this at us because it's just so funny.
There's a lot to unpack there.
He really. Then he tweeted back and he gave us a screenshot of his team. Aaron Rodgers.
Yep, that'll do
out.
it.
David Johnson.
That'll do it.
Out. Carson Palmer.
Boy.
Out. But this guy, I mean, you thought you had Aaron Rodgers and David Johnson. You're like,
I went Trace
run,
McSorley
baby.
home run.
You're loving that, all right? Not so much.
Trace McSorley home run. They lost the game, but
I know.
still home run. Okay, whatever.
All right, we got the inclement weather one in kind of earlier.
Yes, we did.
Don't think it's going to impact the New England Patriots because they play in inclement weather all the time. Are you feeling confident? This one comes from David. Are you feeling confident in Stafford today? That's the night game, which we'll get into a little bit later. You are starting Stafford,
yeah, it's
so
not the
let's
confidence.
Hear it.
There's no confidence there. Okay. It's because I don't trust Derek Carr on the road in Buffalo. That's why I'm playing Stafford. They're home. The Steelers are just a different team on the road. I think Stafford. Look. Even if Stafford has a bad game, he's going to put up a ton of fantasy.
He's still a good,
So, I like Stafford. My confidence level, 7 out of 10 on Matt Stafford today.
Ooh, okay. I'll respond. I'll respond on Twitter. All right. This one comes from Mick. This one comes from Blackhawk Mick, our guy, friend of the show.
Who I believe I banned.
You did ban, but I brought him back.
Okay, all right.
I have the right to bring him back in.
I just wanted to make sure we were
Brandon LaFell or Mohamed Sanu? Mohamed Sanu is the hate of the week.
Now, if
Jamie
Jamie was here, he would tell you to play Brandon LaFell because he hates Mohamed Sanu.
But
I don't like Mohamed Sanu either. Sure, Brandon LaFell. I don't want to make Brandon LaFell a fan.
You do not feel... There was zero confidence
3
in
out
your
of 10
voice
on the
when you said
confidence
that.
meter
Wow.
with that decision. Sorry.
I don't like it.
Have better options for me.
I feel like I'm going to tell him to play Sanu.
Okay.
Sorry, Jamie.
You know what? But 3 out of 10 confidence means you could play Sanu, and that would be that's like a 4 out of 10.
I think that's kind of a toss-up for that game.
Flip a
coin.
coin.
Right, let's get into the afternoon games now, all right? So it's Texans and it's Seahawks.
This game is going to be, just from a pure football perspective,
this is a fun football game, all right? The Texans coming off a bye, going up to Seattle. Everybody knows when you play in Seattle, it's a different atmosphere, especially when it's getting into later October, almost November games. Deshaun Watson, rookie quarterback, going on the road to play in a very, very tough environment. This is one of those times where that environment weighs on the fantasy perspective because it's loud, it's going to involve the snap count, their defense isn't the same team because they have a couple of injuries. Yeah. So, Chris, let's start with Deshaun Watson. I'm starting him because I have to.
Yeah, I'm not because I don't have to.
Yes.
I have other options. But here's the thing. I know we like to talk about Seattle's defense not being as good as it used to be. It's still really darn good. It still is very, very good. They got 5 picks this year. They've only allowed one quarterback to have a multi-touchdown game. That was a game when they went to Tennessee to face the Titans. Marcus Mariota was able to have multi-touchdowns against them. But what does Marcus Mariota and Deshaun Watson have in common? They both can use their legs to extend plays. So if you're looking for some parallels there to see where there may be some success, I like it. Look, there's just something about this matchup, and this is a gut feeling. There's no facts behind this. When you're a rookie quarterback and you go up there to Seattle, you may feel like you're a world beater. You don't feel the pressure because you're a rookie. You're just out there having a good time. That may be beneficial to you. You may be able to not let the crowd noise affect you because you're just happy to be there, right? You're happy to be able to go up there and Seattle and be the starting quarterback.
And I know you and I talked about this a little bit on Thursday. I think the other thing about this is that Deshaun Watson has played in the toughest environments.
Yes, and so this doesn't faze me.
He played in a national championship game back-to-back years against Alabama's defense. It doesn't get much more crazy intense than that. I've been to Seattle. I love that atmosphere. But you're talking about half the amount of people. Okay, it's 100,000 versus 55, 60,000. It's a loud atmosphere in Seattle. I just don't foresee. I think I buy into what you're saying.
It's a gut feeling.
It's just kind of like he doesn't know any better.
Right, exactly.
He doesn't know any better.
Exactly. So he's a guy that if my guys are out, I got some buys, I got some injuries.
How about the narrative here? Obviously, the comments we're not going to get into, but the comments that are made from Texans owner that have impacted players like DeAndre Hopkins, players like Will Fuller. Some of these guys, DeAndre Hopkins sat out of practice. Is this going to be? Yeah, is this going to be something where you see them? I almost buy into that they're really going to show out a little bit today.
Their disagreement and their issue with their owner, take that and put that to the side.
Yes.
They're still teammates.
For sure.
That's a family. They're going to play hard for their family.
And I can see them bonding together kind of over this.
And I think that's what you're going to see. So, yeah, there's going to be a demonstration by them, I think, before the game.
Not sure what it's going to be.
And that's a whole separate issue. But on the football field, I think they're going to band together. They want it. Look, no matter what the situation is, that's your brother. That's the guy you go to war with.
Yeah.
You want to play hard for your teammates. They're going to play hard. No matter what. If that wasn't a thing, they would still be playing hard for each other. So I don't think that has too much of an impact on them and their performance today.
All right, now let's talk about the Seahawks. Okay. Let's talk about Doug Baldwin. He's been a big disappointment thus far this season. Pretty much everybody on the Seattle offense, Eddie Lacy, Paul Richardson, none of these guys have been good.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to talk up Eddie Lacy.
No, I'm not going to. I'm never going to talk up Eddie Lacy. Russell Wilson, though, because of his ability to get you points with his legs, Russell Wilson is still a phenomenal quarterback.
Did you see the note that I had in the notes this week?
Bring it on.
Okay, I said, I don't care if he needs to run for his life. He's good at it.
Yeah, no, he's really good
I don't care if he has to run for his life because he's fantastic
The thing is about that, though, it's less to do with Russell Wilson's value and more it has to diminish everybody else's value around him. Because Russell Wilson's offensive line is trash. It is trash. It is so bad.
Ride the pine.
It is so bad. That whole offensive line.
Get him on the pine.
Put him on the pine.
Did you hear? No, I know we don't like to get into rumors and stuff here on this show, but did you hear the rumor from this morning about what the Seattle might do?
Uh-oh.
They are going to try to acquire a veteran left tackle, and they're going to need to cut some cap in order to do it. And one of the guys they're talking about,
Jimmy Graham.
It's Jimmy Graham. Now, just so everybody knows,
worst trade in Seahawks history: Max Unger for Jimmy Graham. Worst trade.
Their trade of Jimmy Graham might be worse because he's got he had 4 catches to start the season. He's got a touchdown in each of his last 2 games. He's turned
into a thing.
And now they're going to trade him when he's now become a thing.
Yeah.
Typical Seahawks.
Yeah.
The Seattle running back situation. If we could create a dartboard of Patriots running backs and Seattle running backs and just put their faces on a board. And just throw a dart.
That might be a graphic that we have for next week.
Just throw a dart at a dartboard, and that's who you're playing this week. And Paige won't let me play Eddie Lacy, so I'm not even going to begin to try to justify playing Eddie Lacy.
Zero chance.
Don't play any of them. That's my advice.
Yeah, you're not starting any of those guys from the Seattle Seahawks offense. You love Russell Wilson. Everybody else is pretty much you're taking a shot on anybody because Doug Baldwin hasn't been very good. Richardson got in the end zone, I think, last week. So you're just picking and choosing. You're kind of looking all over the place, but. I have Doug Baldwin on the team. I have him starting in I have 3 wide receivers that I start in this one league, so he is my wide receiver 3. The nice thing about starting him there is that he can put up wide receiver 1 numbers. I just am not expecting those.
No, you
I'm
should.
expecting under 10.
You should, and then if he has a big game, you're loving life.
Yeah. All right, Sunday Night Football.
You're just going to skip over the Cowboys and the Redskins?
Oh, we're going to talk about the Cowboys and Redskins.
You did this game. How can you skip over it?
I know, but I'm so excited about Sunday Night Football. I wanted to get right into it.
Yeah, fine. You know what? No, we'll just skip it then.
No, we're going to talk about this other afternoon game. That is the Cowboys and Redskins. We actually have a lot to get to in this game.
You have multiple graphics for this one.
Yeah,
so how could you skip
show me
this?
Dak Prescott.
How could you do this to yourself? Show
me Dak Prescott,
You did
Taylor.
this to yourself.
Look at this.
Look, he's right there.
22-plus points in 4 straight games.
That's
is that good,
right?
Chris?
I think it's good. Hold on, I'm going to get my calculator out for a second here. Let me
put together some numbers here. Let's crank the numbers. That's my lock of the week. Okay. Dak Prescott, lock of the week.
You got to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Lock of the week.
All right,
Love Dak Prescott this week. It's just that you're looking at the numbers and you are buying into what the fact that you have seen Dak put up these numbers week in and week out. Their offense is still healthy. Ezekiel Elliott is still playing.
All right, the numbers check.
As far as I know, Ezekiel Elliott will play this Sunday. Now, Dak's overall value changes if Ezekiel Elliott does end up sitting the 6-game suspension, but that's not this week. So I love Dak this week. I love him going forward if Zeke does play. It's been a phenomenal year for Dak again. Yeah, I doubted him going into the season.
He's been so good, and he just continues to just evolve.
He's been better, actually, fantasy-wise.
I think, yeah, and just from a pure football perspective here for a second, I think he's evolving as a player. I really do. 100%. I think he's just taking more control over the game.
All right, I shouldn't have to tell you to start Ezekiel Elliott. Okay, you're starting him every week. But I will get into something not quite yet about the Redskins defense, but I want to talk about Dez Bryant real quick. He has seen 8+ targets in every game and has 1 touchdown in the last 4 of his 5 games. Dez is a guy, if you throw up the X, show the people who throw up the X. Dez is one of those guys that had the rapport with Tony Romo. Last year, his value went down because you didn't see Dak Prescott go to him. He went to Jason Witten. He went to Ezekiel Elliott. They're kind of starting to develop that rapport. Dez hasn't been injured this year. They're showing that this team can now, Dak is throwing the ball more often. So I love Dez this week. I love him going forward. He's finally putting up those numbers that you drafted him for because he's been living off the cachet of his name the last 2 years in fantasy football.
I think he's finally starting to play well, and all the questions of maybe him taking a step backwards, he hasn't. He's been playing really well this year.
Jason Witten, father time. No team allows more receiving yards to tight ends than Washington. What does that mean? Lock and load.
Oh, yeah. Huge fan of Jason Witten this week.
You love it.
I'll love him this week.
You love him this week.
Would have been the crush if I had this matchup.
He's caught 12 of 14 targets for 115 yards and a touchdown. What does that mean? Those are phenomenal numbers for a tight end. But we are going to get into the Washington defense here real quickly because I want everybody to know.
You just kept talking up Ezekiel Elliott. Now you're going to bring everybody down.
Here's the thing. Ezekiel Elliott is matchup proof at this point. Okay? You're starting him every week, but just don't expect one of those high caliber games because we got a graphic here on the Redskins defense. Okay? The Redskins defense against the run, 65.7 yards per game allowed to backs. That is the 3rd lowest in the NFL. It's pretty good. Pretty good at stopping the run.
Yeah, and I think the major part of that, Jonathan Allen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I thought and I believe he's out, right?
Yeah, he is out.
So
that impacts that. That
absolutely
defense.
Impacts them because I thought Jonathan Allen was one of the major reasons why they were able to have that much success. Now he's out for the season. And that changes things.
Yep.
And that really changes things. I believe they're expected to get Josh Norman back this week.
They are expected to get Josh Norman back.
So that is going to be a huge boost to them because they need help in the secondary stopping the pass. So that's nice.
All right, let's talk about the Redskins quarterback. That is Kirk Cousins.
He's pretty good.
The Dallas secondary has allowed 4 top 14 quarterback performances in a row in their last 5 games. The lone exception, C.J. Beathard.
Oh, really? What a surprise.
So what do? You take that one and you throw it out because C.J. Beathard's not good, and you look at that and you go, that's a trend. You buy into the Redskins. Kirk Cousins has been a guy who week in and week out, very good fantasy quarterback. Chris Thompson, starting over Rob Kelly. I'm not telling you not to start Rob Kelly because he is getting more involved in that offense, but you're seeing Chris Thompson become the guy there in that Washington Redskins offense, and I'm starting him.
I also love, as you do as well, Josh Doctson.
Yes.
Finally starting to look like the player. Him and Nelson Aguilar, good for both of them to kind of break out finally. After being first-round talents drafted by the respective teams. They're capable of being -- 1 wide receivers. They're finally starting to showcase that ability.
Well, Josh Doxson's the guy who's seeing more snaps now. So that's a good thing. You see that. You're buying into that. Anything else you want to hit here in this matchup before we get into Sunday Night Football?
I mean, Jordan Reed.
I try and avoid all the guys that I shouldn't have to tell you to start because you should know that you're going to start Jordan Reed. I want to get the fringe players who you're kind of trying to decide on, so that's why I went with some of those guys. Zeke, you're starting. Dak, you're starting. Dak's been a guy, though. He's still available in 20% of leagues this morning. Look.
Can I be in those 20% of leagues?
Yeah, I don't understand what you people are doing. Sunday Night Football, huge matchup. Steelers going on the road to play the Detroit Lions. This is a good one. I think this could have the potential to be a little bit of a shootout. I think we might see that.
Track meet? They break out here?
I think we might see a little bit of a track meet, which is always a good time. But let's start things off with Ben Roethlisberger. We got a graphic here. He has yet to score 18 fantasy points this entire season. Okay? He hasn't put up one game where he scored 20 points. Last year, he had 7 games where he scored over 20 points.
Paige, that's not good.
That's not good.
That is not good. And
Ben Roethlisberger on the road. Give me a couple words to describe Ben Roethlisberger.
Trash, garbage, riding the pine. What else do you want me to say? I mean, I'm not playing Ben Roethlisberger this week. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, this is where I'm looking to stream this option. I like Ben overall. I think I keep him on my team. He's been my quarterback 2 in one league where I have him, and I've been going kind of matchup proof with Matthew Stafford, actually. But this week, I'm definitely starting Matthew Stafford over Ben Roethlisberger because Ben Roethlisberger, buy into those numbers. He hasn't had a really good game. The Steelers' offense, when they have been really good, is Le'Veon Bell show and Antonio Brown. Le'Veon Bell starting, Antonio Brown starting. I hope I don't have to tell you that. I literally have in my notes, start Le'Veon and Brown, because I really, really hope that I don't have to tell you to start those two guys. The Steelers defense is a really good unit.
I don't like this statistic. You just told me to start Matt Stafford.
Sorry, worth the play on the road. Matthew Stafford had been sacked 5 times in 3 straight games. Stafford can get sacked. It's okay. He can still put up a lot of points. What if he fumbles
the ball when he gets sacked? I lose points.
Chris is very upset. I'm starting Stafford in the league, too.
I know, but now you're talking him down. You're speaking these things into existence. We talk about this all the time. Do not speak things into existence.
I'm speaking it into existence because I want Chris to freak out a little bit. It's always highly entertaining for me to watch, and I am 7-0 in that league.
Yeah, here's another stat that you have. Only 2 quarterbacks that have faced the Steelers have finished in the top 10 in weekly scoring. Thanks, Paige. Here, I'm going to go change this now. I'm playing Derek Carr now. I'm changing my lineup.
Chris is upset. He's very upset.
Look at this. Your entire prep here for the Lions is talking them down after you told me to play Stafford.
Just 2 quarterbacks, like I said, have finished in the top 10. That was Deshaun Kaiser and Alex Smith. I do think Stafford has a good performance. I think he's in the top 14. I don't think he's top 10 this week.
That's fine. Top 14
also a tough week for Golden Tate owners. The Steelers are allowing just 5.8 yards per target to wide receivers this season. They have been one of the best against the pass, one of the worst against the run, but it doesn't matter because the Detroit Lions are not good at running the football. Amir Abdullah, love you, bud. Go Big Red. You're a Husker alumni, but I've been waiting for you to break out in fantasy football, and it's just not happening. It's just not happening.
I like the Lions overall tonight in this game.
I do like the Lions. I think they win this game, but it's just not. I'm not in love with this matchup for anybody here. The Steelers have not allowed one single receiver to go for more than 61 yards.
Great. Play Matt Stafford, everybody.
Chris is going to have a meltdown here live on the show.
Because if I don't play Derek Carr, that means I have to go with Stafford because Stafford plays on Sunday night.
I'd still start Matthew Stafford over
Derek
Carr because I could see Derek Carr throwing 3 picks on the road very early. I don't think that's going to happen.
Let's talk about Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football, last matchup here. The Denver Broncos going on the road to play in Arrowhead Stadium against the Kansas City Chiefs. This matchup is always good stuff. Okay, this matchup between these two teams always brings a little extra juice. This is an AFC West divisional rival. Let's kick things off with my boy, Kareem Hunt. Okay, we're going to start with the Chiefs.
I don't really have a say, do I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kareem Hunt has had double-digit fantasy points in every week this year. Is that good, Chris?
That's good. The math checks out on that. Kareem Hunt is good.
Kareem Hunt, newsflash, he's good. Now, here's why I'm saying that. The Denver Broncos have a really, really good rush defense.
Yes, they do.
They are one of the best. They've been the best in fantasy scoring against the rush. That means that don't expect those big numbers from Kareem Hunt this week. I'm still starting him when he's been able to produce every single week in double digits. I just don't think he's going to have a 25-point game. I think he's going to be more between 10 and 12 this week, but you're still starting Kareem Hunt.
And the other person I think this affects is Charkandrick West.
Yeah, this means he's not startable this week.
We did our start and sit on Thursday, and I told everyone Charkandrick West rides the punt. He's gone.
All right, good news we got some stats here on Alex Smith. The Broncos have held 4 of 7 quarterbacks they've faced this season to less than 200 yards. It's not great if you're an Alex Smith owner.
No.
Not great.
It's not. I think Alex Smith is starting to slide down the quarterback depth charts.
He's headed more towards where he belongs.
Yeah, and that's fine.
That's the truth.
And that's fine. I think this is a good game for Trevor Siemian. I really do. I think this Kansas City Chiefs defense is not as big and bad as everybody thought it was. They've been susceptible to the big game this season. Deshaun Watson is a rookie, threw for 5 touchdowns against them. And I don't care if they came in garbage time. They all count the same in fantasy. So I think Trevor Siemian's in for a big game this week.
You're starting Travis Kelce. I shouldn't have to tell you that. Emmanuel Sanders still sitting. C.J. Anderson has been a rough go over the last few weeks, and I don't really like him that much this week as well. One thing, I love this note, and this is shout out to Wes Anderson, who writes for FanRagSports.com. He writes this every week. Demarcus Robinson has been on the field for 107 of 112 possible offensive plays for the Chiefs in the last 2 games.
Are you taking a page out of my book? Are you telling everyone to watch this guy?
I'm watching this guy. I picked him up. Okay, I took Wes's advice. I picked him up. I'm not starting him this week, but you have to watch this trend because if you're in that much, almost 100% of the offensive snaps, that means at some point you're going to be involved in the offense in a big way.
Yep, and they're going to need him to be. They need other people to emerge. So yeah, don't play him, but keep an eye on him.
All right, Chris, any parting thoughts? We rocked through all those matchups.
I'm going to just, go cry in a corner because I have to play Matt Stafford tonight. He's going to get negative fantasy points according to Paige. So that's good.
I did not say that.
I'm going to double down. stack of the week. Jameis Winston and
tell
Adam
everybody
Humphries.
your stack of the
so
week.
that's my daily fantasy stack of the week is Jameis Winston and Adam Humphries. I think they both have really good games.
All right, my parting thoughts are there's a couple of people I didn't get to your tweets. I didn't get to answer those. Chris and I are going to answer those right now. If you have any more, you got about 30 minutes to make some matchup decisions. You can follow me at @the_sports page. You can follow Chris at Chris R. Schubert. Good luck in fantasy this week. For Chris Schubert, I'm Paige Simakos. Thanks for joining us.